Barron mocks Obama's roots, Obama's single line. The year is 2026. The air in Washington, D.C. is thick with the usual partisan tension, but on this February evening, a specific noxious cloud descends upon the political landscape. It originates not from a policy debate or a foreign policy crisis, but from the most potent and dangerous weapon in modern American politics, a social media post from the President of the United States. The post, a video shared from Donald Trump's personal account, was a crude and White House's initial response was a masterclass in how to escalate a crisis. Press Secretary, scrambling to defend the indefensible, claimed the video was merely a clip from a larger, humorous internet meme where Trump was portrayed as a jungle king and his political opponents as characters from a cartoon. This dismissive non-apology only poured fuel on the fire, failing to address the core issue of the deep-seated and offensive racism inherent in the imagery. As the uproar intensified, the political fallout was swift and brutal. The response was not confined to the usual partisan lines. While Democrats were predictably and rightfully furious, the most telling reaction came from within the president's own party. For years, many Republicans had stayed silent in the face of Trump's controversial statements, fearful of reprisal and the political power of his base. But this incident proved to be a breaking point for some. Senator Tim Scott, the only African-American Republican. For the Obama family, the attack was a painful reminder of a persistent and ugly thread that had run through American public life for decades. The lie that Barack Obama was not born in the United States, a conspiracy theory known as birtherism, had been one of the most potent and pernicious tools used to undermine his presidency. It was a charge that was racially charged from its inception, designed to delegitimize the nation's first black president by suggesting he was somehow an other and not a true. History between the two men was long and antagonistic. The birther conspiracy was a foundational element of Trump's entry into the political arena, a calculated attack on the legitimacy of a sitting president. In 2011, the tension between them was famously on display at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. President Obama, with his characteristic wit and cool demeanor, used the podium to relentlessly mock Trump, who was in attendance. Obama joked about Trump's showmanship. And so, the nation waited for the response of the man at the center of the attack. Barack Obama, who had largely maintained a statesmanlike silence since leaving office, was thrust back into the spotlight. The pressure was immense. Every word he spoke would be parsed and analyzed. A weak response would be seen as acceptance of the insult, while a forceful attack could be dismissed as partisan politics and risk igniting an even more divisive fire. When it came, his response was not a lengthy treatise, nor a fiery speech. It was a single line. Speaking at a community event, Obama paused, looked directly into the camera, and said with a calm, measured tone that was both firm and weary, "This is the playbook they've used from the very beginning, and it hasn't changed because nothing has worked." It was a remarkable statement, remarkable precisely because of its brevity and its power. In that one single line, he accomplished what a 1,000-word essay could not. He did not dignify the video with an indignant rebuttal. He didn't call it racist or bigoted, even though it was clearly both. He didn't demand an apology, knowing one was unlikely and would only create a distracting narrative of he said. Instead, he contextualized the entire history of his relationship with. Calling it the playbook, he reframed the incident as a predictable, even tired tactic. He was saying, "This is not new. This is not surprising. This is the only strategy they have." It stripped the video of its shock value by reducing it to a predictable pattern of behavior. The phrase, "from the very beginning," was a direct callback to the birther conspiracy, reminding the public that the roots of this hostility were not in a single ill-advised tweet, but in a decade-long effort to cast doubt on his ledge. The second half of the line, "and it hasn't changed because nothing has worked," was the true masterstroke. It was a profound display of strength and confidence. It asserted that despite all the attacks, the smears, and the relentless efforts to undermine his legacy, he remained unshaken. Their strategy, he was saying, had been a failure. It hadn't changed because it had never succeeded in defeating him or erasing the accomplishments of his presidency. It was a subtle but devastating dismissal of the Trump movement's central purpose, to undo the Obama legacy. In the political world, it was the equivalent of a fighter taking the hardest punch from his opponent, absorbing it, and simply saying, "Is that all you've got?" The effect was immediate. The Democratic base, which had been clamoring for a more aggressive response, saw the line for what it was, a brilliant tactical move. It wasn't weak, it was powerful precisely because it was understated. It made Trump, who thrives on attention and spectacle, seem small and predictable. The single line reframed the debate. It was no longer about a controversial meme, but about a larger, tiresome political strategy that had been exhausted and exposed. This was the Obama doctrine in a nutshell. Never get in the mud, but make sure everyone sees the mud on the other guy. It was a lesson from the no drama Obama playbook, a reminder of the cool, intellectual approach that had defined his political career. He had not reacted with anger, but with a calm and dismissive analysis that was far more damaging to his opponent than a heated rebuttal could ever be. By rising above the fray, he successfully painted the fray itself as beneath him. In the days that followed, the media cycle shifted. The focus moved from the content of the video to the brilliance of Obama's response. Pundits dissected the line, comparing it to historical moments of political grace. The conversation was no longer about whether the president was racist, but about the failure of his tactics. The single line had done more than just respond to an attack. It had co-opted the narrative and completely neutralized the intended insult. It wasn't merely a comeback, it was. The incident and Obama's response became a defining moment. It illustrated the vast difference in political philosophy between the two presidents. Trump's style is offensive, chaotic, and rooted in dominance through insult. Obama's is defensive, calculating, and rooted in dominance through poise and perceived moral superiority. It was a clash not just of two men, but of two fundamentally different visions of American leadership. For the public, the episode served as a stark reminder of the deep racial division that continued to characterize American society. The video was not just a political attack, it was a racist dog whistle, a symbol of a persistent American problem. Obama's response, by addressing the attack with a broad historical and strategic critique, allowed the public to see the incident as part of a larger pattern of racialized politics without him having to say the words race or bigotry himself. Moreover, Obama's single line gave the public a way to talk about the insult without being consumed by it. By dismissing it as an ineffective playbook, he gave his supporters a narrative of resilience. It was the ultimate political closure, allowing the former president to emerge from the attack not as a victim, but as a victor who had long ago predicted the nature of the fight and had already won it. In the final analysis, the incident will be remembered not for the offensive meme that sparked it, but for the single, elegant line that diffused it. Barack Obama took a moment that could have been a low point in his post-presidency and transformed it into a testament to his political legacy. He didn't get angry, he got analytical. He didn't insult, he dismissed. And in doing so, he demonstrated that the most powerful weapon in politics is not always the loudest shout, but the quietest most. The line will be quoted for years to come, not just as a response to Donald Trump, but as a masterclass in how to handle a political attack. It was a reminder that in a world of chaos and outrage, a single, carefully crafted sentence can cut through the noise and change the conversation entirely. It cemented Obama's place in history not just as a president, but as a master communicator, a man who could speak volumes in a single breath. And for a moment, the nation paused, considered the simplicity.